The whole point of Tesla is to accelerate the advent of electric vehicles.
Elon Musk, as opposed to all these other people, he's the one really driving the change. Doesn't mean that his car and his company are gonna end up, owning the market. We don't know, and we honestly don't really think so. But his vision has really guided the change in how Americans drive today.
Elon Musk just stepped into a fight that was already heading to the Supreme Court. Matt Armstrong has spent 2 years rebuilding hypercars that Ferrari and Bugatti said could never be fixed.
Custom wheels made for the Shattering, so we've got to measure the calipers, the distance between the handbrake caliper and the wheel.
Only to be stopped by a digital lock that no amount of mechanical skill could break. So what exactly did Musk announce that has the automotive world holding its breath? And why are Ferrari and Bugatti now facing an opponent with more resources than they ever anticipated? Join us as we break down the announcement that changes everything. War against giants. After a bad BMX crash, Matt Armstrong returned to the garage, not as his father's apprentice, but as a content creator with a camera and a plan.
Welcome to the Mark II channel, the second channel. When we fixed the Bugatti, I repaired this wire here on the crash sensor.
He had watched the automotive YouTube space grow and noticed a gap. Nobody was showing the full, unvarnished process of rebuilding wrecked luxury cars from the ground up. The channels that existed either edited out the failures or focused on cars that were relatively simple to fix. Matt decided to start with a wrecked Audi TT that belonged to his girlfriend.
Hannah had a little bit of an accident. This will begin the project of the Audi TT.
The car had been in a crash, and the repair estimate from a professional shop was more than the vehicle was worth. That first rebuild video did not go viral, but it proved the concept worked. He bought more wrecked cars, BMWs at first, then a Porsche, then a Lamborghini.
In my crash-damaged Lamborghini SVJ.
The formula refined itself with each project. He showed the auction purchase. He documented the damage assessment. He stripped the car to its bare chassis. He sourced parts from salvage yards, collector networks, and former factory technicians who had left the corporate fold. Within 3 years, his channel surpassed 6 million subscribers, making him one of the most watched automotive creators on the platform. Matt's most daring challenge was when he bought a wrecked 296 GTB at auction in Cyprus. The previous owner had disabled the traction control on an open road, lost control, and crashed.
Well, something like this. A completely destroyed Ferrari 296.
The impact was catastrophic. The front suspension was torn from its mounting points. The floor pan was pierced through by road debris. Wiring harnesses throughout the front of the car were ripped apart. The carbon fiber monocoque, the vehicle's structural backbone, was cracked in multiple locations. The front crash structure had absorbed enormous energy and was destroyed beyond simple repair. Ferrari's own dealership in Cyprus examined the wreck and concluded that repairing the car through official channels was effectively impossible. The repair bill quoted by the dealership was astronomical.
Ferrari Cyprus. But the quote to repair it was astronomical. And on top of that, no one's ever repaired a 296 which has been this badly damaged.
Exceeding the car's value in its damaged state, the assessment included a recommendation to write off the vehicle entirely. For most buyers, that verdict would have been the end of the story. Matt heard the same words and made a bid of approximately 100,000 euros. A pristine 296 GTB was worth over $270,000. The arithmetic made financial sense, but only if he could solve problems that Ferrari's own trained technicians said were unsolvable. When news broke that a YouTuber had purchased a wrecked 296 GTB, the automotive world reacted with a mixture of curiosity and outright dismissal. With the wreck in his possession and the manufacturer's verdict in his hands, what direction did Matt take the rebuild that made it unlike anything Ferrari had anticipated? building what Ferrari hadn't released yet. Rather than simply restoring the car to factory specification, Matt made an audacious decision. He acquired a complete Ferrari 296 Challenge body kit.
That's got to be repaired, and alongside that is going to modify it, make it look better, improve it.
The components included ultra-lightweight carbon fiber front and rear bumpers, a redesigned diffuser, side skirts, and a towering rear wing. The 296 Challenge is a track-only machine that Ferrari developed for its single-make racing series. The car is stripped of its hybrid system, fitted with a roll cage, and designed purely for circuit competition. Ferrari had never approved any version of the Challenge for road use. Matt's goal was to build the world's first road-legal 296 Challenge Stradale, a hybrid between the road car and the race car that Ferrari itself had never produced. The conversion required extensive modifications beyond the body panels. The cooling system had to be redesigned to accommodate the race car's central radiator layout, which differs significantly from the road car's configuration. The suspension geometry was altered to match the Challenge's wider track width. New mounting points were fabricated for the rear wing, which generates downforce levels that the standard body structure was never designed to support. Months into the build, something remarkable happened. Spy photographers stationed near Ferrari's Maranello headquarters captured images of a heavily camouflaged prototype testing on public roads. The car wore the distinctive silhouette of the 296, but with a massive rear wing, a revised front bumper with larger intakes, and a vented hood. Analysts who examined the photographs carefully reached an inescapable conclusion. Ferrari was developing a road-legal version of the 296 Challenge, the very car that Matt Armstrong had already built in his garage. The coincidence did not go unnoticed by the automotive press, which began asking pointed questions about Ferrari's motivations for blocking Matt's build.
The wings, they're on their way, but there are other parts that Ferrari have blocked.
Mechanically, Matt solved every problem the wreck presented. The physical car was complete, and by any objective measure, the quality of the work was exceptional. But when he tried to start the car, it would not come on. Matt tried everything within his power. His technician, identified in his videos only as Dips, attempted to clear the fault codes using every diagnostic tool available on the independent market. The fault returned immediately every time they tried to clear it. Another issue was identified during the diagnostics: a lack of communication with part of the electronic system, as if the internal network had never been properly activated. They traced the problem to damaged CAN wires in one of the replacement harnesses. The wires were repaired, the circuits were isolated and tested, and the attempt was made again. With every mechanical and electrical solution exhausted, Matt faced a decision: reach out to Ferrari directly or accept defeat. What happened when he made that choice? Ferrari's trap, the completion paradox. Matt contacted Ferrari directly. He sent an email detailing the rebuild, the Challenge conversion, the hundreds of hours of labor, and the enormous financial investment. He asked for one thing: a software reset. Ferrari's response, when it finally arrived, was devastating in its circular logic. The company reiterated its established position. The car needed to be inspected by a certified Ferrari body shop before any service could be performed. The parts needed to be verified as genuine and correctly installed. The modifications, specifically the Challenge body kit and the altered cooling system, needed to be undone. Matt was trapped in a paradox that Ferrari had constructed with surgical precision. For Ferrari to agree to diagnose the car had to be complete and compliant. But for the car to be complete and compliant, Matt would need to invest even more money in reversing the modifications he had spent months perfecting. And even if he did all of that, there was no guarantee that Ferrari would actually provide the software reset. The company could simply come up with another reason to refuse. Sources close to the situation revealed a darker development. Ferrari was not simply refusing service. The company was systematically documenting every modification Matt had made, every deviation from factory specifications, every claim he had published in his videos. They were cataloging the challenge body kit installation, the cooling system redesign, the suspension geometry changes, and the carbon fiber repair process. The documentation was not being compiled to assist with a future repair. It was being compiled for a legal filing. Ferrari's legal position, as assembled by automotive legal analysts, rests on three pillars. The first is intellectual property. Ferrari argues that the software running the 296 GTB's hybrid system is proprietary.
We got power to the dashboard, but the only thing it said was hybrid system failure, go to the dealer.
That its code and calibration data are trade secrets, and that any attempt to reverse engineer or bypass these systems constitutes infringement. The second is safety and liability. Ferrari argues that a car rebuilt outside its approved procedures using non-certified repair techniques poses a danger to the public, and that if such a vehicle were to crash, the brand damage to Ferrari would be incalculable. The third is contractual control. Ferrari argues that purchasing one of their vehicles implies an obligation to maintain the car according to factory standards, using approved parts and procedures, and that violating this obligation justifies refusing service, refusing parts, and potentially pursuing legal remedies. The third pillar is the one that could reach the UK Supreme Court because it addresses a question that has never been definitively answered in British law. Ferrari was not Matt's only adversary. Another big industry player was after him, the Bugatti front. Matt also purchased a wrecked Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport, a machine with a quad-turbocharged W16 engine, producing 1,500 horsepower.
Big W16, 1,500 horsepower, hanging out the back like that.
And a price tag exceeding $3 million on the second-hand market. The Chiron is one of the most complex production cars ever manufactured, with a carbon fiber monocoque, a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, and an all-wheel drive system engineered to handle speeds approaching 260 miles per hour. Bugatti, like Ferrari, refused to supply parts for the rebuild. But Bugatti's resistance took a fundamentally different form. Mate Rimac, the founder of Rimac Automobili and the CEO of Bugatti Rimac, following the merger of the two companies, went public. He posted on his own social media platforms, directly challenging Matt's claims about the rebuild.
You can't do that in a garage. There's just a few places in the world with the right equipment and only a few people in the world with the right training to be able to do that.
The specific dispute centered on whether certain components in the Chiron rebuild were 3D printed and whether Matt had accurately represented the sourcing of Bugatti-branded parts. The confrontation was explosive, pitting the CEO of one of the world's most prestigious automotive brands against an independent builder with millions of viewers. Matt responded with footage. He documented the parts. He showed the sourcing trail. He walked viewers through every engineering decision, every supplier contact, every installation procedure. And when the W16 engine finally fired in his workshop, the argument against him lost significant force. The Bugatti ran. It moved under its own power. The mechanical and electrical work had been completed successfully. The Chiron rebuild proved that Bugatti's position was technically incorrect, but it did not resolve the underlying legal question. The contrast between the two cases is instructive. Bugatti's resistance was about parts and reputation, about whether an independent builder could source genuine components and accurately represent what he had done. Ferrari's resistance was about code, about ownership, about whether the digital architecture of a car you legally purchased actually belongs to you. The Bugatti ran because Matt could physically rebuild it without needing Bugatti's proprietary software.
Okay, I'm ready when you guys are. Yeah? Ready? Let's do it. Whoa!
The Ferrari remained silent because the software lock was the only barrier, one that no amount of mechanical skill could overcome. With two of the world's most powerful car brands aligned against him, What event shifted the balance of power in a way that nobody predicted? Elon Musk enters the fight. On a Thursday evening, Elon Musk posted a thread on X that began with a single sentence: "Software locks on cars you own are a form of theft." The thread ran to 11 posts and accumulated over 40 million views within 4 hours, making it one of the most engaged with posts in the platform's history on the subject of automotive policy. The early posts established the philosophical and legal framework. Musk referenced the long-running battle between American farmers and John Deere, in which farmers discovered that their tractors had software locks that prevented them from performing basic repairs without dealer authorization. He discussed the EU's Digital Markets Act, which includes provisions on software interoperability that could directly apply to automotive ECUs. He drew a direct historical line from the smartphone repair battles of the 2010s to the automotive software fight of the present. Then the thread moved from philosophy to concrete action. Musk disclosed that a team of former Tesla and SpaceX engineers had spent months developing a universal diagnostic initialization tool. The tool is not a hack. It is not a bypass that illegally circumvents encryption. It is a legitimate, open-source software framework designed to communicate initialization protocols to proprietary ECU systems in modern hypercars, including hybrid vehicles. The key legal distinction is that the tool does not reproduce or distribute any manufacturer's proprietary code. It initiates communication using standard protocols. Independent cybersecurity researchers who reviewed the documentation released alongside the announcement confirmed the tool's legitimacy. The framework is structured to operate within existing legal boundaries while achieving what was previously impossible outside a manufacturer's proprietary network: the reinitialization of a hybrid battery management system after a crash. The third and most consequential part of the announcement was personal. Musk named Matt Armstrong directly. He said Armstrong would be among the first to receive unrestricted access to the diagnostic tool, with a support team of former Tesla engineers to assist with the Ferrari 296 GTB's initialization. Musk described Matt's rebuild as exactly the kind of work that should be possible, and characterized Ferrari's software lock as a restraint of trade masquerading as consumer safety. The announcement also included a commitment from Tesla's legal team to file an amicus brief in support of Armstrong if the case reaches the UK Supreme Court. Of course, this has just taken things to a whole new level, basically the battle of giants. Why this shatters Ferrari's legal strategy? Ferrari's legal position, meticulously built over months, assumed that the right to repair, as currently understood in UK and EU law, does not extend to software. That assumption was already fragile. Musk's announcement may have shattered it entirely. On intellectual property, the open-source diagnostic tool does not copy, distribute, or reverse engineer Ferrari's proprietary code. It communicates with initialization protocols. Tesla's legal team, which has fought and won numerous high-stakes intellectual property battles across multiple jurisdictions, will have ensured the tool sits on the right side of the legal boundary before any public announcement was made. The intellectual property argument, which was Ferrari's strongest, now faces a direct and well-resourced challenge. On safety and liability, Ferrari's argument that software locks are necessary to protect consumers from dangerous repairs becomes extraordinarily difficult to sustain when a team of engineers who built the world's most advanced electric vehicle battery management systems states the opposite. Tesla's vehicles contain battery systems that manage more power over longer ranges in more diverse conditions than Ferrari's hybrid system. The credibility gap that Ferrari relied on, that only its engineers could understand, the safety implications, has been closed by engineers with equivalent or superior qualifications. On contractual control, the entire premise of post-sale authority faces a potentially fatal legal challenge. If a court rules that software embedded in a physical product cannot be used to deny that product's core function after a legitimate sale, Ferrari's entire post-sale control model collapses. The implications extend far beyond one car or one manufacturer. Every automaker that uses digital locks to restrict independent repair would face the same exposure. The precedent would reshape the relationship between manufacturers and owners across the entire industry. Within 48 hours of Musk's post, the responses cascaded from every direction, and they are not stopping anytime soon. The immediate fallout: multiple automotive legal analysts published immediate assessments of the situation. The consensus held that the amicus brief threat was credible, and that Tesla's entry into the case represented a significant escalation of the legal resources aligned against Ferrari's position. What had been a single YouTuber's dispute with a manufacturer had become a confrontation between the technology industry and a legacy manufacturer. Two sitting members of the European Parliament referenced the Armstrong case in public statements about the Digital Markets Act. Their statements noted that the Act's provisions on software interoperability and access to essential digital infrastructure may have a direct bearing on the question of automotive ECU ownership. The right to repair advocacy organizations in both the EU and the United States issued statements citing Musk's announcement as evidence that the software restriction model was facing its most serious challenge to date. Ferrari and Bugatti both declined to comment publicly on the announcement. The silence was notable precisely because both companies have extensive public relations operations and are not typically hesitant to defend their positions. Legal observers interpreted the silence as preparation rather than retreat. The companies were not ignoring the situation. They were recalibrating their legal strategies in light of an unexpected development. When corporations of this size go completely quiet in response to a direct challenge, they are preparing a legal response, not a press release. Matt Armstrong's response. Matt posted a single video on the evening of Musk's announcement, 12 seconds long. His workshop, the Ferrari 296 Challenge Stradale visible in the background, still wearing its race bodywork, still silent, still locked. Matt looked directly at the camera. He said nothing. He simply smiled. The video accumulated 8 million views in 24 hours. The silence spoke louder than any words could have. For 2 years, Matt had documented every struggle, every failure, every confrontation with the manufacturers. He had shown the emails that went unanswered. He had shown the canceled parts orders. He had shown the diagnostic screen displaying the same failure message month after month. Now, with the most powerful disruptor in modern technology history standing publicly at his side, there was nothing left to explain. The former Tesla engineers have reportedly established direct contact with Matt's team. The open-source diagnostic tool is in final stage testing. The support team that Musk promised is being assembled. And somewhere in a workshop outside London, the world's only Ferrari 296 Challenge Stradale sits waiting. The mechanical work was completed months ago. The bodywork is flawless. The engine is primed. The hybrid battery is charged. Only one thing stands between that car and the open road: a sequence of code that is about to be rewritten. The bigger picture. Ferrari and Bugatti do not simply sell cars. They sell access to a controlled ecosystem. The purchase price of a 296 GTB or a Chiron is the beginning of a financial relationship that extends across the entire lifespan of the vehicle. Service must be performed at authorized centers using approved parts. Modifications must be approved through official channels. Otherwise, the warranty is void. In Ferrari's case, the informal blacklist, never officially acknowledged but widely understood to exist, can prevent an owner who violates these rules from ever purchasing another new Ferrari. This model has survived for decades because no one with sufficient resources and a willingness to litigate has challenged it head-on. Musk's motivation is not purely altruistic. Tesla has a history of battles with right-to-repair advocates, and publicly positioning the company on the side of open access creates goodwill for future legislative negotiations. Tesla also has a commercial interest in demonstrating that its software architecture is more open than legacy manufacturers, a competitive advantage in markets where regulators are increasingly scrutinizing digital locks. But the motivation does not change the effect. Ferrari and Bugatti are now defending a model under attack from a direction they did not anticipate, with resources they cannot match. Matt Armstrong did not set out to become an industry disruptor. He bought a wrecked car because the math made sense and the challenge interested him. The fact that fixing it required challenging the legal foundation of post-sale software control was an unintended consequence of a process he documented for entertainment and education. But it is now the reality. The case, if it advances to the Supreme Court, will address questions that affect every car owner in the country. Does ownership of a physical object extend to the software that controls its essential functions? Can a manufacturer permanently disable a vehicle you legally purchased? And does the right to repair include the right to access the digital systems that modern vehicles depend on? These questions have been debated in academic journals and legislative committee rooms for years. They have never been tested at the highest level of the British legal system with a specific case involving a specific car and a specific owner. Matt Armstrong versus Ferrari may become that test case. And Elon Musk, whether Ferrari likes it or not, has just ensured that the test will be conducted with resources, expertise, and public attention that the Maranello brand never anticipated. What do you think about Elon Musk stepping into Matt Armstrong's fight? Is the open-source diagnostic tool the weapon that finally breaks Ferrari's digital wall? Or will the lawyers find a way to shut this down before the code ever reaches Matt's garage? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.